So guys, welcome to the first in what will hopefully be a new successful series on both YouTube and my Patreon channels. You'll be able to see these videos first on Patreon, and then a month later they'll be up on YouTube. And this is going to be the character focus series, where each month I will be focusing on a special character, or in the case of this first one, a set of characters from the Forge World Horus Heresy character series. So that's obviously all the Primarchs that they've got on there, plus some of the extra characters that they're bringing out. So obviously these are going to be done in my highest standard, which is my top tier for commission work, character focus, using obviously a multitude of techniques. So first of all, focusing on Abaddon for the first part of a few of these videos, out of Abaddon and Loken, and I've gone ahead and primed him in black with Chaos Black spray, and then given him a very quick wash, thin wash of Abaddon black all over, just to make sure that things blend up nicely into the correct black. And if we need to do touch-ups, obviously we can touch up with the Abaddon black, but not the Chaos black. So in the scene, we've got Loken on the left and Abaddon on the right. And so I want, as we've got the terrain, it's going to be sort of here, I want the light source coming from just in front of the characters, slightly more over Abaddon, so we're coming down at sort of this angle across them. So sort of here is where the light focus will be, and then on Loken it'll be more his front side. So what I'm doing here is going for a slightly blue-black. I don't want to go too towards the blue. It's just to cool the black down slightly, so we can use this for our brighter areas and our highlights and stuff. So what I'm doing to start with is going to go around all of the lower portion of the model. I'm going to thin this quite a bit, get it more towards the glaze, and I'm using a mix of glazing and layering. But what I'm looking to do is get the highlight on and sort of build it up as I go. So what I'm doing first is just working out where the brightest area is going to be. So obviously I'm going to have this highlight that's going to come down following the cylinder shape of his leg, and as it disappears around here it's going to be darker. Now because the light is coming from sort of this angle, it's also going to light up pretty much all of the inside of this leg here, and then darken on the other side. But I do want a little bit of reflective light on his backside leg, on the this side of it. So what I'm going to do is use this also on this side. Now this is going to be almost the lightest shade on this side, bar a few little highlights and things like that. And on the inside of this leg here, that is going to be pretty much pure black, as obviously it's going to be for the most part in shadow. The reflective light from this side isn't going to be enough to brighten that underside up, whereas the light coming from this side, the stronger light, is going to be enough to light up the inside of this leg. And so if we were to number it, 1 as the darkest, 4 as the lightest, we would be going 1, 2, 3, 4. Or sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. So because this has a stronger light from here, this is still going to be quite bright. A slight reflective light on this side, dark here, and then the brightest will be on this side here. Now with cylindrical objects, and even on black, you do tend to get, as you can see it on from my light source here, you get this bright line here, and then it will get darker as we come down. Pardon for the background noises there. That's my kids coming in and out of their rooms. Hopefully they'll be settling down for bed soon, so it won't be too noisy. So all I'm planning on doing, that's a red panel, I know that, his kneecap is red, and this one it is black. Now for reference on this, I'm using the photo from the Forge World website, the one that they have displaying this model painted. But I wasn't too keen on the look of that one. To me, I think his armour just looks a bit too glossy, almost like it had a black thrown down and then a gloss over the top. Whereas obviously I'm going for a much more detailed look to my guy. And obviously this is going to take some time to do this video, these models. Obviously we've got Loken, Abaddon and their terrain. So this is going to be broken down into a number of videos. I'm hoping to have it completed within the month, and if I do, then shortly before it's completed I will put up on my Patreon a what do they call it, a questionnaire where you guys can vote who you would like to see me paint next out of whatever ones are available at that time. Obviously I'll make the list, it'll probably be about 3 or 4 characters, and the most popular one is what I will do for the following month, assuming at the time of ordering it is in stock, as they do tend to run out of stock every now and then on Forge World. I'm hoping you guys will enjoy this series, and for some of you find it informative enough to inspire you at least to go on and paint your own miniatures. Now obviously for those of you watching this here on Patreon, you're getting the full unedited, or as unedited as I can make it, version. And if you're watching it on YouTube, then chances are you've got the voiceover sort of edited / speed paint version. So obviously going around picking off all the black areas that I want to have this highlight, and what I'll do is get it with this one, and then I'm going to add some white to this and slowly build the contrast up. And once I have the contrast to where I'm happy with it, I'll then start using highlights and things like that. Now obviously with painting like this, you very rarely get it 100%. Apologies for that, the camera battery ran out of charge, so I had to change the batteries. So where was I? Oh yeah, if obviously you're watching this on YouTube, then you are getting the slightly edited version. But if you are watching this on Patreon, then I would right now like to thank you for your support. With the funds from you guys supporting on Patreon is how I am able to do these and continue them. And so with your continued support, I will be able to do more. So we've got a little bit of reflective light down here, not too much, and then the same here. We're going to get light towards the bottom, obviously with the light source coming from this angle, sort of trying to keep it in mind all the time. There will be light along this, not so much on these under areas, though we do have a few areas that will catch it. Obviously he's got certain colours in certain areas. He's got the red, what is it, the red gauntlet on this side, the red shoulder pad, the red knee pad, and I do believe that is it. Right, so yeah, he's got the red on this shoulder pad. Now as the light is coming from this angle, we're not going to get too much light on here, so we're just mostly looking to get a sort of edge highlight along some of this black, just a subtleness. And that's all I'm looking to do at the minute, is build this up until it's opaque, so it matches the colour on the palette, and then I can then go in and start lightening it up and blending that into this. So obviously along the top of his hand here, or his wrist, I'll catch the light, and then along the top of his shoulder pauldron, and then just coming down slightly on the front, and then the same here. We're going to be, see if we can get that in focus. There we go. So along here, obviously, as the light is coming down this way, we're going to be slightly lighter towards this inside edge, and then get darker on the outside, and then the same here, going to be a little bit lighter on the outside edge, and then get darker as we come towards this ridged bit in the middle. Now in the reference photos I can't quite see what that is, what colour it is. Now I think it is gold, but I'm going to do it in this as though it is black, and then, now you know what, we'll do that gold. I'm not sure if it's going to be 100% accurate, but I think the gold will look better. So now what I'm going to do is take the smallest amount of white, so we can get that to show, and start mixing that in. And this is where you're going to see that cool blue grey coming in from the Inky by Darkness, that was the one. So I'm not looking for too much of a difference between this and the previous colour, but just enough that when we apply it, there you go. So now again, with it thinned down, we can build these up, blending it out into that softer area. So obviously, as this is going to be a fairly strong light source on the outer edge, on this side, it's going to have that harsh sort of bright light down the middle, and then get slightly lighter until it becomes black again towards the outer edge. We can always glaze over this with a black to blend it in. So just on the outside here, so you can see if I get my light source that I'm using in the right place, we will have this area here, and then that will feather off and get darker as we come further this way. And then here, as it is underside, there's barely going to be any light, but we will get some reflective light just here, and then we can again blend that out and back in if we need to. So this side, going to get a little bit of reflective light on the top of the knee pad. Now the reflective light is coming from the ground, so most of it is going to be at the bottom, but a little bit on some of those areas nearer the top. Now you can see here that my light is causing this brightness, but because it's a reflective light, it's not going to be as harsh. So we're just going to paint in a little area under there. Now because this is fairly open, we've got the light source coming this way, it is going to catch some open light. So again, a little bit of highlight. Right, now for the chest area, the breastplates, obviously with the light coming here and he's curved under, this is quite dark. So what we're going to do it's just run some edge highlighting along these edges. Like so. So you can see here, I'm now going for a super thin consistency to help blend this in to that black and the previous shade that we set down. I'm not too worried about this colour going in along these edges, because I will go back in and pin line them to make them stand out a little bit more with a wash, and just get everything nice and dark in those recesses. But for now, it's all about getting these highlights on. And because again the light from this angle is going to catch the top of this thigh here, and then some of this reflective light again up here, just trying to blend it in. This is soft blends from light to dark. In these areas there's soft shadows and soft highlights, and then on the edges where the light is more extreme, and you're gonna get those sharper highlights. That's when we'll go in with the brights and really contrast it up. Right, so a bit more white, probably a bit too much there. I'll blend this, mix this in. Again, super thin it down. Get me a relatively sharp point on there, and then starting where that brightest highlight point is, and just fade that down. And then obviously a little bit in here and across the top here. But the outside edge is pretty much done. We'll use this a little bit more concentrated for its edge highlighting in there. Okay, so hopefully we can see that we now got this grey going on, but we are going to glaze over it with a black to tone it down once we've got our other colours on, as obviously without those it is a little difficult to tell exactly how bright we have gone. So what I'm going to do now is add in a bit more paint of each colour, and try and get a thicker consistency together. Bit too much there, bit of black. There we go. Okay, so now using a size 1 brush, just going to get some of this edge highlight colour on here. And now I'm just going to go round and pick off all of the edges over all the armour. To give us that nice contrast. We'll also bring this down into those shadow and reflected light areas, as they will show some highlights. Obviously the sharpest edges will ping some of that light. Okay, now one area that I've neglected, I just realised, is these two areas here, and so I will go back and pick them off in just a bit. Obviously I'll have to darken up my paint and thin it down slightly. Right, so that is a lip. Now I can't work out if the studded bits... Right, so that is a lip of this, and then you've got the studs, not the other way around. So the studs can have an edge highlight at the top there, and just under here. And then the same with these armour panels. Yeah, just a bit of highlight. And these ones here. And then obviously we have the top and bottom of the belt here. We also have these pipes. These pipes are black with a bit of grey highlight on them, like so. And we have another one here, just very gently brushing along the surface just to pull some of that paint off and onto the top edges of the pipe. Right, and we can highlight this edge as well as the inner and the top. This trim is gold, and then we've got this edge here. When I'm dipping on my water pot there, I am pulling excess water off the bristles. It's just so I can help bring the bristles to a nice sharp point in the paint. It just has that slight little bit of moistness in the bristles, and then the paint itself isn't too thin, but the bristles will help it flow off. Right, then he's got this area here. Just put some highlight on. And then these tassels are red, kneecaps red. And do another little bit of highlight on there. Now what I want to do is get a little bit of white mixed in with this. Thin it down, a bit too much there. And then I'm going to thicken that up slightly. Now I'm going to stipple highlights very gently, and as this is thinned down, we are going to spread a little bit and give a slight blur. And then as they dry, obviously they'll settle in. The reason I'm stippling this is to try and get a little bit of added texture using light and shadow. Right, so keep adding white as much as I need to get the next value, and then I can use this for my next edge highlight. And again, just picking off edges that would catch the most light. So now just anything that comes from this sort of direction. So in the case of this, as this is where the extreme light would be, that's where it's going to pick off a good strong highlight. And then pretty much everything else over this side will be left as is. We'll pick off an edge along here. Just slightly under there, and then again along the top of this. On both sides. Right, so apologies guys, it seems the camera stopped recording without me realising. Looks like I only get about 25 minutes worth of recording on this POS camera. Anyway, what I've done is built up the highlights to almost white, and then stippled in very carefully, so similar technique to what I'm doing now, with a very thin down tone, which is this here. as you can see on the palette cam. And all I've done is, like I say, stippled that in just along this edge and then slightly on the arm. Now looking at the arm, I'm thinking that that is a bit too bright on there. So what I've done is I've gone over the entire model after that with a super thin down glaze of almost pure Abaddon black with a very small amount of the inky by darkness in there. And what this has done, you can see it's super thin on the palette here, and what this has done is blended in the black to the highlights, and the stippling gets smoothed out a little bit by it. You see that I've done the top here and blended that in nicely, and then obviously we've got our edge highlights that I've done as I've built these shades up. I've just gone in with a number 1 brush and just picked off all the edge highlights, so anywhere that there are sharp edges that would be exposed to light, with a mid-tone, something around about this, and then where the light hits the most extremes, obviously I've moved up to something more along the lines of this colour here. I'm hoping in future I'll be able to learn and keep an eye on the camera a little bit better for recording, and get some slightly better videos for you guys. But as I said, all I'm doing is stippling along now with the scratches and stuff that are on here. I'm just carefully lining in along the bottom. This bit too thin down this, so what I'm going to do is mix up a small amount, slightly darker, touch of the blue, and then some of that white to bring that back down to a highlight. And when I say the blue, obviously I mean the inky by darkness. And now that I've got it thicker, it will draw a better line, hopefully. There we go. So as the light is coming from the top, it's going to light the top edge of the bottom side of the cut. On diagonals, again, same thing, it's going to catch the bottom edge, and on the verticals it's going to catch the edge that faces the light. So if the light is coming from this angle and there's a vertical line just down here, the highlight is going to be on this side, not this side. So just get this so I can see it, and we have right there, and then again on the bottom edge of this scar, and then the same with this side. So we are going to have the bottom edge of the scar here, here, and down this side. And then as this is going to be reflective light coming up, the highlight on the diagonal will actually be on that edge, not this edge. There we go. And then the same with the back here. We're just going to pick off the edges that the light would be in contact with, and then along here just going to add in a little bit of sort of scratches and texture and stuff with this lighter highlight. Now I can go back in with maybe some metallic, and give it that scratch look. But as a ceramite, as I understand it, is in fact grey, as some of the books have described it, especially with what is it, Alpha Primus from the 40k universe. His armour has been described as unpainted grey ceramite, and I'm not sure what they used back in 30k in the Horrors, during the Horrors heresy. I think it was ceramite, and that it was iron just before that. So it would make sense that Abaddon and the legions would be using ceramite, but maybe Praetorians and things like that would be using the heavier armour, iron armour or steel, whatever it was. So for this guy, he's going to get these white highlights, and then for the scratches and stuff, it'll be pretty much the same. And his boots are looking a little bit dark in contrast to this, so what I'm going to do is brighten them up slightly. Now I know he is supposed to be wearing black, but black isn't always 100% black, but we will dull this down once we are finished with a glaze again of the pure black. So take this bit of black, small bit of the Inky by Darkness just to cool it, and then thin it down. There we go, almost black. Remove the excess, and then we can go over everything and tone it all down. Like so. Alright, now what I'm going to do is a bit of this black, thin it down, and we're going to use this to pin line all of the black areas. Just a little bit more. I may end up switching and using some Nuln oil, but we'll give this a go. Now, because this outer trim hasn't been painted yet, I can actually use this to place most of the bristles on, and that way only a few will be in contact with the panel to lay that shadow line in. Okay, so let's have a look. There we go. Abaddon in black with some nice grey highlights. So I'll just try and get these into here, get this wash in there, and darken up these pipes, give it a good bit of definition between each of the highlights. And there we have it, all the black done. So next up we'll be working on the reds, which will be the shoulder guard here, the gauntlet on here, and the back of it this side, all of these tassels, as well as the ones in the front here, this knee pad, and then the eyes both here and up here, and I do believe this one up here, and obviously this one is all part of this. So there we have it for this video. Hopefully the next one will be up within a few days, so we can get probably 2 weeks spent on this guy, 2 weeks spent painting the Loken and the base, and then we can get the next model. Yeah, there you go guys. So until next time, thanks a lot guys, take it easy, keep painting those minis.